Hey guys, it's Des, obviously. And as you can probably tell from the title, this is a video that's basically all about how I do my brows. That's tweezing and how I fill, how I decide the shape, and basically how I decide what color I want to use for my brows, just the whole kind of shebang. So my videos tend to be very long, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started. First thing that I want to show you guys is that how I decide to shape my brows. Now this brow is always going to be a little bit different than this brow for me because my left brow has a scar on it that goes all the way from here all the way up. So this brow is always going to have a little bit more of a peak, and it's always going to seem a little bit more erect than the other one. It always kind of seems like it's like asking a question, like really? So basically that's just kind of like this brow has an erection all the time, so don't even worry about it. So basically how I decide the basis of my shape is I take anything that's long enough to reach from your nose across your face to your brow. And this here is the spoolie, the dual-sided brush that I'm going to be showing you in a second that I use, so it's perfect because I can use it in the beginning and in the middle of my process. So basically what I do is I take it on the outside of my nostril and I go straight up, and that's where your brow should start. Anywhere within that, you know, just a few spaces should be fine depending on where your eyes are set. I'll explain that in just a second. So basically that's where it should start, and then if you're looking forward you should go ahead and take the outside of your nostril and go through your pupil. So like if I was looking forward, it's hard to look forward and do this at the same time, but if you're looking forward it should go through about the side of your pupil or through your pupil or about, and it should hit right there, and that's where your arch should be. Sorry, I'm like stuttering on my words. And then you take the outside of your nose here and you go to the very outside of your eye and you go right across there, and that's where your eyebrow should end. So that's how I get my shape, and I do it with this one as well. Again, it's going to be just a little bit different because this eyebrow is just a little bit different. Even the muscles in this eyebrow are a little bit different. You'll be able to tell in some of my videos when I'm making faces, like, you know, I'm really talking about a product or whatever. This eyebrow always seems like a little bit more flat or rounded, and this one like dips in more. So your eyebrows are not going to be identical, honey. They are sisters, not identical twins. So just accept it and move on. You'll be a hell of a lot happier once you just accept that and start gaining confidence in the brows that you have. So basically after I decide where I want my shape, my eyes are pretty just like they're pretty much just mediocre set. They're not really inset or outset. So I tend to just have my brows right where the my nose tells them to be. But if you do have slightly inset eyes, it might help just to recede it back just a little bit, not too much, because receded eyebrows can make them look very unnatural and can also make your eyes look really wide set. So in my opinion, if you have a little bit inset eyes, it might help to take back just a little bit more hair and have the brows start just a little bit further back. And if you have outset eyes that are a little bit farther set, it might help to let them go in just a little bit more. But do not let those babies get too close, because then you can end up looking a little bit unibrowish. So then after I identify where I want the arch and the brow to start and end, I go ahead and I take my tweezies. These are I believe these are Revlon. I got them at the dollar store, and I believe the reason why they were at the dollar store is because there is no marking on them, like there's no brand label, but the package that it came in said Revlon. So anyways, these are really fantastic. They have really good handle on them. Does not make your hand cramp, especially when you have to do like a whole brow overhaul. Sometimes you get lazy and you have to just tweeze them puppies for like, you know, ever. So that's really nice. The only thing that I would complain about a little bit is that on the slant here, the tip of the slant does not grab the hairs, and so I always have to use the back of it, and that can be really hard sometimes. But these are great. So then I go ahead and tweeze the hairs that are outside of the areas that I have my place settings, basically the start, the arch, and the end, and I tweeze the hairs outside of that. And how high you're going to go in your brow is basically up to how thick or thin you want your brows. I have pretty hefty size brows just because I have such a dominant face. I have a heavier set face, and I also have a lot of dominant features. I have a widow's peak, I have a pretty broad nose, I have pouty lips, I've got pretty puffy cheeks, and I have almond-shaped eyes. So with all these dramatic features on my face, I feel that it would be a little bit odd to have really thin brows. So I have pretty hefty brows, not too thick, I like to think, but they are definitely not the thin brows that I have seen some people having. So basically, it's all on you, what you feel would work best with your face shape. You know, if you have a fuller face, you might want to go with a little bit of a fuller brow so it doesn't make you look a little bit malnourished. I have seen that happen before, and if you have a bit of a thinner face, it might help not to have too heavy of a brow, because then it might make it look a little bit heavy on your eye, or a little bit misproportioned to your face. So basically, I keep a little bit of a thicker brow, and once I have decided how high I want my arch, I basically make sure that this area here gradually smooths into how high I want my arch. And you can pluck hairs under here. I know it sometimes seems like it's a little bit scary, but just make sure that you're plucking little hairs that aren't connected to the length up top. And did the same here, of course. You know, you have your arch, and then you decide how many little hairs to pluck to make it smoothly, gradually go into the arch. Okay, next step is I comb them up with my little spoolie, double-ended spoolie. It's got a slanted tip defining brush on that side, and then the spoolie. I basically brush them up and then against the hair growth. I take my little shears here for facial hair, and I basically just trim all the hairs to the point of where I would want my brows to set if they were all the way finished. So like right here is where my brow is set. If I had any hair that was going up past that point, I would snip it off. And basically I just keep going in with my spoolie and, you know, clipping. Definitely make sure not to clip too short down, because then you'll have stubby little spiky hairs. You don't want that. But make sure to clip them close enough to where you're not having extra sparse hairs. I personally have a little bit of curl in my brow hair, so that's why I started trimming them, so that they would all fall in one uniform direction. So after I've done that, then I go ahead and I take my Revlon Brow Fantasy in dark brown, and I only use the pencil side. I don't like the gel at all. But then I take that and I go ahead and I fill this in. Let me show you how I do this. Basically, I have the hairs that go up this way, and then it stops right about here, and then I have the hairs that go just lay backwards. So what I'll do is at this point here where the hairs that go upwards stops, I'll take my Brow Fantasy pencil and I will draw a very faint line going from the point where the hairs start going back to the tip, and then I'll do it on the top as well. And then I will shade in a tail, and then I will fill in the little bits that I defined or outlined earlier, and I do the same to the other brow. And then if I need to, if the colors of this part and this part aren't matching enough, sometimes I will either take my little spoolie and I'll take some of that color out sometimes, or I will go in and I'll just do a few flicks of this to make it blend naturally. Then once I have that on, I take my Wet n Wild Ultimate Brow Kit in ash brown, and I will set that creamy type consistency of pencil with the powders that come in here, because anytime you put any sort of a cream or a liquid, some sort of a, you know, liquidy wet type of a consistency, or anything that's not powder, basically, you want to set it with a powder. So that's what I do, and I use this color here because a little tip is if you have darker hair, you want to do about 1 to 2 shades lighter of a shade in your eyebrows than your natural hair, or than your hair color. And if you're a blonde, then you want to do a shade or 2 darker in your eyebrows than your hair color is. So this color here looks like it would probably be the best color for me since I have really dark hair. But to make sure that my brows look natural, I use this color here, and actually it does not come off, you know, too light or ashy on my brows. It just is a nice fill-in color. So basically what I'll do is I'll take the other side to my dual-sided brush. And this stuff is very pigmented and very powdery, so you want to just tap it in there. Let me show you. Just a little tap, and then tap off the excess, and you basically just go in and you just set that that pencil that you put on there with that powder, and you just tap off the excess, and you go in, you basically just fill this in, and sometimes I'll do a little bit flick here and a little flick here. Okay, and then sometimes I usually dye my hair a black cherry color. Right now it's pretty faded, but sometimes I'll go in with a little bit of purple shadow just to kind of coordinate the colors of my hair to my brows so it looks a little bit more cohesive. And that's about it for the for my routine that I do for my eyebrows. I probably do this about once a week, depending on how much maintenance I want to keep up on it, and also if I'm wanting to change the shape of my brows. Now Guys and gals, if you guys are a little bit nervous to do your brows, honestly, the best thing that you can do is just let them grow out for as long as you can stand it. I know it can be a little bit embarrassing to have your brows grow out, but as long as you can stand it so that you have a lot to work with, and then just take the keys that I showed you, think about where your eye placement is and what would be best for your face shape, and just really go for it in the most vague way that you can. Take the keys that I showed you and do just the littlest of arc, and you can always take away more. You cannot add it back. So you can just do the littlest arc at a time and the littlest of fade into your littlest of arc, and the, you know, very, very tiny of a gradual taper on your tail, on the side of your eye. I'm so sorry, I'm stuttering. Absolutely be courageous. You can do this, and I know that you can. All you have to do is just be very cautious and take your time with it. You can always take a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more until you're satisfied. This is going to take practice, just like anything else in beauty. You're not going to just know what you're doing overnight. I'm 21 years old now, and I first had my brows done when I was 13. So you do the math. I've been having a lot of practice. So I heart you guys so much. I'm really sorry if this video is too long. Let me know if there's anything that you guys need to know about any of the things that I said. If you need any further information, or I've done many brows in my days, and I've helped out a lot of friends with doing their own brows. So if you guys need any tips or tricks, or you need any words of advice, please contact me. I'd be very happy to help you out. I love you guys so much, and stay blessed.